Today we're reviewing whatever else one might think, there's no denying these visuals are polished, impressive, well executed, and cute.
Ready for loss.
Power Paws!
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
The most toyetic show since Transformers also designs amazing toys. Much as 80s animation gets vilified, I think animation fans too easily forget that transforming vehicles are just plain cool. Yes, we can all watch Yuri Norstein and Sylvain Chomet and pat ourselves on the back for our art house sensibilities, but the simple fact remains, look at this thing, it's awesome. And embracing that and accepting its overwhelming pecuniary advantage actually lets you have cartoon shows that survive. There's room for this, and Over the Garden Wall. I also love and admire the willingness to take things ad absurdum with a completely straight face. Yes, of course the puppy rescue crew have a military-style aircraft carrier. And yes, of course it unnecessarily transforms. If anything, I'm sad they didn't take it all the way to the concept art idea of turning into an immense robo-dog. Love this nice early moment for Marshall, totally unnecessarily doing donuts as he puts out fires. Silly, fun. We first saw this in a TV spot with Down Like That kicking in right here though, and the score feels a little underwhelming in comparison. Still, a great little moment we wouldn't see on the show, since we can't have fires like this, before things get all outlandish with the superpowers. Well, more outlandish than fire truck donuts.
Could it be? It was a trap. Sky's crystal was stolen.
Sad Marshall is also precious. And look how cool their suit designs are. Such a great mix of cute and cool.
Get down!
The destruction of the tower in a big explosion is, sure, a huge coincidence, but it's also spectacular and very satisfying as a visual. It's also very sweet to see Ryder save Sky, and even if she usually has better self-preservation skills, this has happened in the show too. Though interestingly, early storyboards have versions with both Chase and Marshall getting saved instead. Sky as the emotional focus of the movie makes the most sense though, and they show her having little legs making the getaway harder. Still, I'm not sure they chose the very best moment of shock and awe from McKenna Grace.
Me!
My crystal!
It's like taking candy from a baby.
Taraji P. Henson is obviously having an inordinate amount of fun with this role, and that helps so much. It actually remains bold in the 2020s to have a black female villain, which is a bit silly because nobody should be excluded from such fun, hammy roles. Also, Ryder is clearly to blame for everything bad that happens in this movie. Just design those badges to be tougher to remove, come on.
See any meteors? Ah! All I can see is your giant head.
The pups have a bit of sass and personality with the script. They can tease one another like in the early days of the show. It's not just bland platitudes the whole time. That helps so much to make them seem fun.
I didn't do it!
Sky's little Bart Simpson moment here also gives her some much-needed personality and likability.
Rubble, quit messing with the light. Rubble!
The little sibling vibe of this moment helps too. Cute.
I'm fine, but I'm gonna need a serious bath.
I absolutely love this little Zuma moment. That shake is animated so perfectly, and it's just plain adorable. I'm glad he wasn't put in a trash can like early storyboard versions had. He gets some dignity here, and in fact...
These crystals belong to us, dude!
Even though he doesn't get that many lines, this movie is actually very good to Zuma. He's instrumental to rescuing Sky and gets the win over the big bad, with some super cute small moments too. The only downside is that if his toys didn't sell super well, even after he gets all these moments looking cool, well, that's just more data suggesting kids just don't buy Zuma merch, even if he's pushed. It's worth remembering, too, that this movie just has a whole lot of utter cuteness to fall back on. It's just a simple moment while Vance is doing her best Hassan Piker impression, but a good slow-mo moment has fantastic visual impact.
You were the smallest?
The smallest and the weakest.
It's great having the pups show a lot of emotion, and to have Chase reaching out to comfort Sky. Having two of the best child actors of their generation in the roles is a bit of a coup as well. And this gorgeous golden hour lighting doesn't hurt either, even if Sky just having a memento on a waterfront where it's always windy, kinda laying on her paw, stresses me out a little.
Turns out I am too small to make a difference.
Ooh, that was good.
I actually really like that talk no jutsu doesn't work on Vance at all. I remember on first viewing thinking it would, and that this was the exact kind of movie where it does, but being pleasantly surprised to be wrong.
Oh my goodness! I can talk!
In a franchise that's pretty heavy on the annoying, non-role roster padding celebrity cameos, this one was a super fun one to throw away. Though I do remember having to convince some of the more literal-minded in the fandom that yes, this moment, seen entirely in the trailer, was gonna be all Chris Rock does, and that this won't be a major starring role. Now I have to calmly explain that the joke about cats all being able to talk in the Rocky special is just a gag that isn't logically compatible with the rest of canon, and is just a joke, not a major overhaul of the status quo. Anyway, I also do kinda like that this deal with Humdinger is the sole reason Vance's plan fails, and the pups get the single crystal to later pass around in that satisfying showdown set piece.
Keep your hands off our vehicles!
Aw, silly baby. You just know he lay awake for several nights thinking of way better one-liners he could have said than that. She didn't even have her hands on it. It was also generally a nice bit of animation, but I'm just here finding the pups being lame, utterly adorable. Bless you, Rocky. Whoops. They're dead. No, but with allowances made for cartoon slapstick, the Liberty and Palm subplot does have some funny and entertaining comic relief.
I didn't vote for you.
Me neither. You were the worst mayor the city's ever had.
This is why I hate free and fair elections.
Nice to see Carmen and Tony from the first movie get a little cameo here. And the wee bit of political snark slipped in for the parents was fun as well.
How did that happen?
Chase's pup pad having a notepad function is underappreciated and very silly. Also, Christian Convery is a very cute Chase, and I'm almost sad things didn't line up differently so he could play Marshall in a leading role. Though, I'm sure Carter Young will do great in movie 3. By coincidence, I watched Sweet Tooth, Invincible, and the live-action One Piece in the last few months, so Convery was popping up everywhere.
It's like these crystals amplify something about you.
But I'm just Liberty. What's my thing?
This moment between these two, the strong performances and animation, and how it allows Liberty to think about her self-identity are all nice. Even if what results maybe takes up an unnecessarily long portion of the movie as its major subplot. This kinda breaks the universe's rules about the pups and opposable thumbs and using things that need grip, and, well, basic physics with how much Sky must weigh. But hey, I think allowances can be made by appealing to the rule of cool, and wanting a scene where a puppy lands a crashing plane. Similarly, this suggests Chase's self-preservation skills are just ridiculously awful. Just walk away, Chase. But it's worth hand-waving that away for how cute and silly getting a boop from an airplane is. It's as mawkish and manipulative as can be, but I don't really care. I love a good weepy flashback. If you look at what's actually happening here at arm's length, it's kinda easy to mock, but a little baby struggling through the snow while Christina warbles a sad song, you gotta lean into it or you'll never have any fun.
Oh, it's some kind of fireball. Well, that makes sense. You're a fire pup.
This really doesn't make much sense logically. But somehow I kinda love how they just accept it at once, and it makes perfect sense to these silly characters. The very thing he swore to destroy. That joke was made 1,000,000 times when this was revealed. Come on, this whole silly final act is just sheer fun. Are you not entertained? The puppy is flying a jet that has a totally unnecessary rotating wing laser gun function. And pretty soon she's gonna get it blown up and just get out and punch things. You millennials and Gen Xers forget how your parents used to turn their noses up at Unicron ripping apart that wretched little planet Cybertron, and the Sword of Omens giving sight beyond sight. In 30 years, nostalgic adult nerds will be wanting $2,000 dioramas of this stuff. You mark my words. It's not as good as the first movies, but we always like a 2D credits sequence. Down Like That was a great pumping song for this movie, too. It's more my sort of thing than Good Mood, even if I'm more into Maroon 5 than a Bryson Tiller fan. Well, excepting, of course, that Adam Levine alone is not Maroon 5. In general, both movies have really nice soundtracks in terms of the songs and the score alike, so long may that continue.
I know what it's like to feel small and insignificant.
The big problem here is that the moral message gets extremely muddled. I remember the very first negative critical review the movie got, breaking its all-fresh initial review streak, said this: "The filmmakers do deserve credit for attempting to deliver worthwhile messaging on what constitutes strength and how it has no relation to size. Unfortunately, they aren't committed to that message, and, if anything, seem to inadvertently be making the misguided point that size doesn't matter, as long as you have a superpower to compensate for that shortcoming." That came from Flickering Myth. The same is echoed in one of the harshest reviews read out in this funny video.
So, Ryder leaves pups at home multiple times because they don't have superpowers and are now useless. Then, the captured pup can't escape until they are rescued by superpowers. Then, the pups are completely useless against the villain, except for when they are in possession of the crystal which they pass around. So, the moral of the story is that unless you are super gifted, you are completely useless. The average Joe is powerless to change things. Bad movie for kids.
This is a really valid point. The message that it doesn't matter if you're the smallest one, you're just as able as anyone else, needed to actually be reinforced without, but only when given superpowers. You can stretch to say the junior patrollers actually do convey this message, taking on a giant with just their training, their smarts, and a convenient wrecking ball. But they're not the ones with that central dilemma, and it needs to be in the main character arc, not the side story. And the worst thing is, it's such an easy fix. Right here, Vance is just floating around doing nothing, while the one crystal bounces loose. And it gives Liberty a moment, fine, but it's so obvious that you can solve your glaring central problem right here. One tiny additional story beat, where Vance tries to press the attack, but Skye, maybe getting her jetpack, stops her, protecting her friends and demonstrating that she's a highly capable, brave, incredibly useful pup without any superpowers. You can even get a trailer quote from a witty quip here too. It's just such an obvious huge fix. You guys need to hire me to script doctor, for real. I understand the desire to get to the good stuff quick, and, when writing this, they likely didn't know if there would even be more than 2 movies. And there is a nice spiritual link between the Mighty Pups TV movie being the one that made them realize feature films were even feasible, but I'd have much rather they built up to something as outlandish and crazy as superheroes. A spy-themed movie or a mountain rescue movie would have built things up more smoothly. Going straight to superheroes means it's hard to match that scale in future movies, and stepping it back will seem anticlimactic. You've got dinosaurs, but there's not much further you can go from there. Dragons, sure, maybe pirates, but yeah, after a relatively grounded first movie, I didn't love jumping straight to the wilder ideas from the show. Skye's powers aren't very well defined. In the show it was just tornado-y flight powers. Simple, but kinda meaningless when she could fly assisted anyway. But here she kinda gets flight, super strength, I guess endurance, possibly there's a baseline strength and durability buff they all get, but it comes across as a bit arbitrary for Skye. Also, this shot doesn't make sense if you overthink it, unless she also has liquefaction or shrinking powers to get where she is to lift the crate.
You don't have superpowers anymore.
But I have to do something.
I need you to hang back and look after the junior patrollers.
After movie 1 has a key emotional moment be the feeling of betrayal and inadequacy a member feels when benched and told to sit things out, Ryder does it again, not once, but twice this movie. And once again, he is never called out on his insensitivity or how his handling of it exacerbated things and essentially caused the primary emotional conflicts in all the personal growth storylines. I'm still charitably thinking that this is a multi-movie arc he's on, and he's going to have to confront that while his decisions may have made sense prima facie, they caused all sorts of unnecessary hardship with how he handled them. Pretty sure it's just going to be ignored, though.
Oh, Janet, grab the little one so she gets in the photo.
I'm fine down here.
Come here, sweetie.
I don't love that after it never coming up at all in movie 1, suddenly everyone talks about Skye being small all the time. It's even questionable Janet would choose her over Liberty with these instructions. It's all a bit awkward that the main character's foibles or insecurities suddenly get discussed constantly, and I'm pretty certain that'll carry over to movie 3, where having barely tripped or stumbled in movies 1 or 2, Marshall will suddenly be super clumsy. Skye was quite clearly hyper-capable and very confident in movie 1, ultimately destroying the Cloudcatchers, so a sudden insecurity... I mean, I get it needing to happen for the movie to have heart, but it's set up pretty clunkily. Rather than a series of very minor things making her feel like the small one, a set-up scene where she's really made to feel like being small was an actual shortcoming would have gone a long way here.
Oh, Skye, I'm almost as tall as you! Well, I'm definitely taller. But not for long!
Yeah, here's another example of dialogue that feels pretty unnatural because it's setting up a core theme rather than being something a character seems likely to say.
If I'm gonna get my crystal back, I'm gonna need all the power I can get.
This leads to a pretty pivotal set of events where a lot of things kinda just happen so the plot works. I can get Skye making dumb choices here even after years of cool-headed experience, since she's just told us she felt a way she never had before, getting superpowers and feeling like she had more agency, even though Ryder's tech basically gave her all of that before, but still. Making the choice to take all the crystals and not tell any of the others she's going to fix her mess takes it to the very edge of credulity. Especially since it's pretty dubious the crystal's power even stacks anyway. Certainly, 6 crystal Sky is easily beaten by 1 crystal Vance. Again, so the plot can happen.
Not so super inside a force field, are ya?
But why not? I know it's superpowers and you can make up your own magic rules, but it seems pretty dumb her 1 crystal can make a shield impregnable to a pup with 6. Maybe a line saying how lucky she is to get the exact pup who only has brute strength, which she can just redirect, would help. Or maybe it would just shine light on the contrivance and how this is all awkwardly happening because it has to happen this way for the plot to work.
Get over where?
Great! Now the clumsy pup shoots fireballs out of his paws.
Yeah, Marshall wasn't really clumsy there, and as far as we know, Liberty doesn't actually have grounds to think of him as the clumsy one. The clumsiest he's been in the movies is the Spin Master logo animation. Unless, of course, she's judging him from the TV show, which we have cause to believe exists in-universe. Or we can just hand-wave and say she's seen it off-screen.
Cute little puppies who drive around in cars! I know that sounds weird, but just go with it.
Somehow this self-referential humor worked in movie 1, but felt a bit smug and annoying in movie 2. Also, Kristen Bell and James Marsden probably had a fun, easy time in the Hank and Janet roles, but I was a bit disappointed they were kinda wasted as cast members.
Marshall, the trailer's on fire! I'm all out of water!
This is a pretty unpleasant early example of a contrivance. Marshall usually just has unlimited water and wasn't in action very long here, so it clearly happens to give Sky a moment, and obviously Marshall has as much water as the script demands he has. But the effect is that Marshall just looks like a pretty lousy fire pup who didn't plan things out, has no options for contingency, and was recklessly overusing water while doing his donuts.
Whoa! Oh. Oops, sorry. And that's why I wear a hard hat.
Rocky's similarly made to look pretty reckless for the sake of maybe a laugh and a useful line for trailers.
Come on, but...
It will never not annoy me that they paid $10,000 for Saint West to make a couple of grunting noises. And they didn't even bother designing a new character, using one taken from 2019 design sheets of background randoms. I'm sure the remuneration was part of the negotiation with Kim Kardashian, who wanted an early role on her kid's resume, but the whole thing feels so manipulative and nepotistic and gross. What was she gonna do? Rub it with her toe beans? I know it's visual language, but reaching for it with her teeth as a pup would and as they would in the show would probably be more tense. Even if rationally she should be flying at it full speed and grabbing it in her mouth. Ugh. Gen X creatives are just incapable of resisting putting in the Akita bike slide. Even if you already did it in your last movie, and your marketing material.
Nano?
Hello.
Minnie?
Hi.
And Tot.
What's up?
I get their place in the story, how they conveniently give an alternate view on contributing even if you're super small, and I get how they probably seem like great for merchandising. But 3 hard to differentiate fluff balls that aren't actually cuter than the main cast that's already cute puppies end up mostly feeling like a waste of time. And at least anecdotally, they weren't great successes as merchandise either, with designs that translate poorly to plastic toys, and competition being the rest of the toys of, also super cute pups, but well established.
Hello, Roomy.
Mixed gender and pet-friendly prison cells. You know what? For the sake of moving the plot along briskly, I'm fine with it.
This is incredible! I can feel the energy surging through me!
It's one of those old cliches that when a black person gets superpowers, it's always lightning. Well, another one gets chalked up on the TV tropes page.
What are you doing?
This is such a stupid plan that could go fatally wrong far too easily when they could just, call the pups up and lie about getting trapped in a cupboard. Or if they really had to target Sky, trapped in a cupboard in the plane. But hey, she does say she's mad after all.
Well, I'm a wrecking ball.
This is a very specific nitpick, and the scene in general is one of the movie's most fun, but the way Rocky and Liberty get synchronized eyeballs really hits my uncanny sensors.
How about we call ourselves the PAW Patrol, but more, with just a little bit extra.
As the funny one, Rubble unfortunately just isn't very funny in this movie. A little worried that'll be the case in movie 3 too. Also, look how tiny Movie Marshall is. A very small boy.
New uniforms and new merchandise. To all the parents out there, I'm sorry.
The self-aware merch jokes are also more forced and less funny than in movie 1. I know the story's gotta happen and it's visual convention, same as this joke about anime. But it was distractingly unbelievable that Sky would ever be picked after these creatures. Also, Sky, come on, they didn't do anything wrong. Why don't you ever call them, huh? You're famous now. Connect with your family.
I shouldn't even be in the Paw Patrol. Ryder didn't want another pup.
This is a bit of a weird thing for Sky to say, and think. It's kind of a vestige of older versions where she actually hears Ryder say that. But without it, and all its implications about Sky being a late addition to the Paw Patrol, it's a bit of an odd thing for her to think. Especially if she sees several other pups get adopted after her, which is pretty likely. We can let it slide as her overthinking things, but it struck me as clunky even before I knew about the cut lines.
Oh no, you don't!
Marshall!
Nobody messes with Giant Humdinger!
Humdinger as Rampaging Giant is a fun set piece I'm glad got included, and is good for upping the ante. But it's actually a little disturbing how ready Humdinger is to actually kill the Paw Patrol. Whether stomping on them during the chase or trying to crush Marshall here, he's actually intending to unalive them. Which goes a little far in my book. Not because it's too horrific for me to bear or anything, it's no bone tomahawk sawing scene. But just for the general vibe of who Humdinger is. I'm forever disappointed Zuma, the pup with water powers, didn't jump in after her. If you thought it would take away from her moment, sure, she could just reappear on her own as he looks up with his mouth gaping open. But him not even trying makes me sad. Not long ago, I watched a plumber give a whole talk about how this drain connected to some sort of faucet made no sense. I do admire that level of nitpickery. Paw Patrol the Mighty Movie has a lot of flaws the first one does not, and on a fundamental level I'd much rather they built up to the crazier themes like superheroes more slowly. I also would have much rather seen them be more careful with the core message, taken some time to get away from contrivances that don't seem well motivated or logical, but kinda have to happen for the story to progress, and being clearer on power sets. And certainly I enjoy looking at this movie seriously and holding it up to the same standards of any piece of cinema. And while I do understand it being dismissed by adults sniffy about the baby show, I really don't get the unwarranted hatred from some parts of fandom. The movie is still spectacular, adorable, sweet, and indubitably sincere. Overall, 7.5 out of 10. There are too many parts one has to charitably hand-wave away as being a stretch to make the plot hang together. But if one does, a highly enjoyable, very well-made little superhero romp is there to entertain any audience. Alright, reviewing this whole movie has been quite a lot of work. Crazy how something that runs for an hour and a half takes me much longer to look at than something that's 11 minutes long, huh? Still, I hope you enjoyed and let me know your thoughts too. Click here to see my review of Movie 1, or here to see my Making of Movie 1 video, something which I'm planning to do for this movie as well. Hopefully tomorrow, but like this, it might take me multiple days to get the video done. That's all for today though, and I'll see you guys again next time. you.